Hello everybody, we're back to do the airbag system install now on the van. It's something I've thought about adding, as well as obviously we've done the recent new shock absorbers, etc. So looking at stability and functionality for the van, I'm going to be adding the airbag system for the rear, so call it comfort air ride system. These bags are rated to, I believe, 5 tons, which is more than enough for what we need really. But obviously this is going to help the springs on the rear of the van cope with the load that's on there now. We've obviously upgraded the front springs to stiffer springs, etc. So this is more of a, an addition for the back as well. Obviously it'll give us the useful, handy little trick of being able to raise and lower the rear suspension should we need to. So when you're on site, if your back end is a little bit too low or a little bit too high, we could possibly adjust it using the airbag system rather than using leveling ramps, which we currently do now. So this is a kit I've ordered online. I'll stick a link in the description for where I've ordered the kit from. It's a twin gauge kit. There's a little bit of research sort of highlighted one or two possible issues if you have single gauge. So I've gone for the twin gauge kit, which also has 2 switches, so you can raise and lower each airbag from the switch to whatever you wish. Or you obviously, when you're normal driving, you set them at the same, but then when you get on site, if you want to raise or lower one side independent to the other, then you have the ability to do that using just the switch function on here. So I'll spin the camera around now and show you the kit that I've got, and do a little bit of explanation on what is in the box. Okay, so as we can see, we've got the airbags here. There's 2 bags, obviously one for each side, and air lines for each side, and conduits to protect the air lines when they're running underneath the van, and obviously all the bracketry needed to bolt these in place. And they replace the bump stops on the rear of the van, so you take the bump stop out and replace it with the airbag. It utilizes bolting positions from the anti-roll bar on the rear axle, so there's no sort of additional drilling on a thing. You utilize bolting positions that are actually in place. So that's the basis of the bags and the brackets. And then we have this kit here then. Obviously there's your wiring loom, which contains everything you need. These are your switches for raising and lowering, and the gauges. It comes with a fascia panel as well. I'm going to need to look at where I'm going to mount this in the van. You can possibly have it down the front, sort of on the dashboard somewhere, or more than likely I'm going to install it to the rear, because I don't think I'm going to be able to fit this anyway without modifying a position in the dash, which I don't really think I want to do, to be honest. So I'm probably going to mount that in the rear somehow. I'm going to need to have a look at that. And obviously it comes with its own little compressor, so the compressor needs to mount in as well, and there's your feed line, etc. So we'll go through the kit bit at a time. First things first, obviously I need to look at where in the back of the van I'm going to mount the compressor, and decide then obviously when I'm going to locate this. So let's have a little look at the back now and see where we're going to position everything. Okay, so I'm just trying to figure out where I'm going to mount the controls here for the airbag system. Obviously we've got this fascia here, which there's obviously a hole there for each gauge and each switch control unit, which raises and lowers the bags as you want. I'm going to mount everything on this side, I think. There's no real suitable place on the dashboard for this, and I'm not cutting holes in the dash just for this system to be installed. I want to keep that original. But we've got enough room in there on the wall there, so I can mount the compressor there. Obviously then we've got a feed from the compressor. All the wiring I need is in here, so that's your 12 volt supply there. I can get that all sorted out. Cabling and feed can come out here. We've got an exit there, so I'm thinking I'm going to go for there, but I'm going to need to make a mount really to do that. So I'm gonna go for somewhere around up there, because I can take the feed pipes out through the floor here. I've checked that underneath, so there's exit there. Hopefully we won't know until we actually put the hole through, but I think it works out measurement wise. I can pop a hole through there for the 2 feed pipes for the airbags. So I'm just going to need to knock up some sort of mount there now to mount this panel here. I think I've got some leftovers of this ply, so I'll do the same. I can paint it obviously the same colour as this, it'll all match in, it'll look quite nice I think if it's sort of there. We'll have a little look. So time to get on with that and see how that turns out. Okay, so this is the design I've come up with. I've made it so there's enough room in there obviously, because there's T-pieces that come off the hoses that are going to go into the switch and to the both each gauge, so I didn't want to make it too cramped the space in there. I think that'll be pretty neat when that's painted up now the same as that. That's going to be pretty neat. This fascia panel then I've routed out in there, so this slides down and locks in place there, and just pop a screw in the top then. That's going to be nice and solid for when you're actioning the switch, etc. So that'll be good and gives us plenty of room. You say, you know, there'll be just a cable, well, not cable, air hoses then coming down here, down from the bottom, out through the floor and onto the actual airbags themselves. I'm not quite sure whether I'm going to put it there yet or potentially up here. I don't know. It'll just be a longer run of air hose then going out. Be better, possibly better there at more of an eye level, but I don't know. We'll see when it comes to actually installing. But there's my little mount, and I'm going to do. I think I'm going to round the corners off and tidy it up, and then we'll start getting that painted obviously, because that needs to be installed then when we actually do this. I'm going to be able to, I think, fit some little brackets, L brackets on the inside here, so mounted inside there, so it's going to be nice and discreet. You're not going to see any bracketry outside, so that will literally be on the side there like that, all the same colour, and then it'll match in quite nice I think. So we'll get on with finishing that off now and paint it up and see how that looks. Okay, so I've taken out the electric box cover here just to give me a bit more room to work, to be honest, make it things a bit easier. So I've mounted the compressor there. I've got to figure out a mounting for the air filter that comes with the compressor. Now as you can see, there's a little line in there which comes with a plastic air filter. So I'm going to work out how to mount that, but the air line's going to come in through the top here, in and across here, obviously then, and the panel will be here with its feed on. So I'm going to figure out the wiring here now. It's pretty straightforward, to be honest. It's only actually a positive and a negative you need. Everything else is built into this loom. It's fused. There's a relay, so it's pretty straightforward. It's just a case of fitting it all in and mounting it and making things look a bit neat. I've had to modify that panel mount that I made yesterday, because when the gauges were in, it didn't sit correctly, etc. So lesson learned there. Really should have fitted the gauges in that little bit of fascia and checked everything first, but never mind. It's all good. It's modified now, so I've just got to figure out where on the side here I'm gonna on the obviously the box, I'm gonna mount that panel so that the airlines, well, I first thought the airlines would come and go out here. It looks as though the airlines are going to have to go inside that box, given the back of the panel, which I'll show you now. And I can just pop a hole through there next to the electric feed, and we'll be good to go to run these lines outside. So I'll show you the back of the panel and see to explain what I mean. So as you can see, I've got the gauges mounted in here now. But what I mean regarding the panels, as you can see, they come out quite a depth, which I hadn't realized at the time. So obviously this panel here is reasonable depth, but it's not going to be enough when this is put in place. Roughly, you can see there's not much of a gap there, so you're not going to be able to have those hoses entering where they need to enter without causing the hoses to bend at an unrealistic angle, to be honest. So I'm going to have to figured out when I'm going to mount this on the box here, which is here. Excuse the mess. So we figured out where it's going to mount there, and then I'm obviously going to have to cut a hole here then for everything on the back of this to be able to run through. It'll make it a bit neater, to be honest. Anyway, you won't have anything visible then. Obviously everything will be contained inside this this box cover that I've built for the electrics anyway, to keep everything safe. Keeps the air lines all safe inside as well, so it'll probably be a better job, to be honest. But that's what we're going to have to do. So yeah, more work on this panel. So I've trimmed it down smaller now, because obviously I didn't need the depth underneath what I thought I would need for the hoses, etc., because the hoses are going to have to go through inside. So that's the change there. So I'm going to get this air filter mounted up now, and I'll bring you back when I've done all that. Okay, so we've got the compressor all mounted in there nicely. There's the air filter. Put it right up the top, out the way, because obviously it's only on a plastic mount. So, you know, it's like when you chuck the stuff in the back here, I want to try and keep it safe. It should be pretty safe up there. So there's your air filter coming in. So that's where it takes its air from. Cabling's going to go up there. It'll go in through the same existing section on the cover for the electrics, and the pipe will run across. Obviously there's the feed pipe now, which will supply the air to the two bags. I mean, this isn't sort of, you know, this is just a temporary and, you know, thing here at the moment. I've got to figure out where the gauges and everything are going to sit, and then I can all sort of plumb that in. I've got my cabling come down, taking the feed from there. It's got a separate fuse as well, but it's double fused, so it's not really an issue. I've put this on just so we can check to see if it works, and then this is the system to inflate. So you can hear obviously the compressor there and the air coming out of this pipe here. So that all works fine, and obviously then you press it down to deflate them. So we've got all that installed there now. So that's a fair bit of the work done, to be honest, because once we've get this mount for the gauges sorted out, I can put all that back in, and it's just a case of obviously then running the pipe work out through the bottom, and then obviously we've got to mount the bags underneath, but the electrics and all that is in, and it's all working, so that's all good. So let's get on and sort out this mount for this fascia for these gauges, and I'll bring you back when we've got that worked out. Okay, so as you can see, I've modified this mount ever so slightly, made it a little bit short. I didn't need to come down here obviously because the plan there has changed slightly, but that matches in nicely, gives us nice access there. Just open the back door and you can raise or lower or stiffen the airbags as much as you want. And then inside here we're going to have that coming in through the back there, and our pipes, obviously our feed pipe is going to come up here into a T-piece to feed there, and then down and out through the floor. I've moved the fuse that was located down there on the floor, so I've moved out the back wall to give me more room now, so I can pick an exit there, so I can just pop a hole through there to put the two feed pipes for the airbags. So next job now is to get the airbags bolted in place and run the lines back through here, and then we just got to connect it all up, and hopefully we don't have any leaks and it'll all be good. So I'll get on with getting the van up in the air now and get these airbags bolted in place. Okay, so the installation part now, I've just realized I've deleted that somehow off the phone, God knows how, and it's gone completely. I can't find it, so I'm gonna have to try and run through what the installation is. Obviously, unfortunately, the bags are in place now, so it's going to be a little more rather than you've seen it directly, but I'll just go through here now exactly what the process is. Let's go underneath here in a sec. Let's switch the camera around. Okay, so there's the airbags all bolted in. As you can see, this bottom bracket utilizes the anti-roll bar mounts there, and then you take out the rubber bump stop there, and you have a sliding bracket that goes in there, and the top bracket bolts on. So that's them installed on both sides. So all we need to do now is run the pipe work. I think I'm going to run the pipe work across the top of the rear axle, and then across this back corner here and come up in the back there, which is where it's going to be located. So I'll get the pipework run there now and popped up inside the van, so that we're ready to connect everything up. Okay, so the top mount there, that's where the rubber bump stop is. So you need to use a pry bar, pop the rubber bump stop out. You have a slide-in bracket then that slides in there and locates in there. Then you have the top bracket for the airbag, which bolts to that. There's a central bolt and bolts it in place, and then you bolt the airbag to that bracket. The bottom bracket here, as you can see, we lifted the entire back end of the van off the floor to take the tension off this bar. It uses the existing bolt holes for the anti-roll bar, and then it sits on top of the chassis, as you can see there. The air line comes out from the bottom, and same on this side here, exactly the same installation process there, and it sits as it should there. I've run the air line from that side across the rear axle up there. We've actually clipped it onto the top of the leaf spring because the spring's not going to move. I've given enough slack there so if it does move up and down, but it was very difficult to try and figure out where I was going to tie this in. I've done it there for now. If there's an issue, I can obviously move it over slightly, but I think it should be fine there. I can't see it being a problem. We've come up here and through this mount and out the other side, and then popped it in through the bottom there, and it goes up inside the, obviously the electric monitoring box, the cover that I've built for the electric system there. So that's how the installation is. As you can see, quite a neat job. Is that large bracket slides over the entire top of the chassis, spreads the load nicely along there. I know there's been some concern about these assist bags causing chassis damage, but I can't see that that's going to be an issue here. We're not exceeding our weight, but I can't see it being a problem. But we'll see obviously as time goes on. But that's how easy it is to install, really. It is a pretty straightforward job. Just a shame that the installation videos disappeared. So, but there we are. Obviously, if you've got any questions, you can pop them below and I can try and answer them as best as possible. But we'll get on now with the rest of it and look at showing everything that as it is installed. Okay, so everything's plumbed in now. Need just to tidy up the pipework, clip everything out the way now. But as you can see, the pipes come up through the floor there. I've done them independently because I've got a drill bit that's the perfect size for these conduit pipes, so it's going to be nice and easy to seal up around. I didn't want to put a big hole through and then have big gaps to fill. But that's all installed there. We've tested it and we've had it sitting now for a couple of hours with 1.5 bar in, and as you can see there, the gauges are pretty much bang on. They haven't moved, we haven't lost any air, so there's no air leaks at all. So it's difficult. It's going to be difficult to show this working from the side on my own here, but obviously here's the controller here now. So to raise this side, literally up, compressor kicks in, and then there we go, we're up to 2 bar pretty quick. And if we want to drop the pressure down, down she goes, and there you go, back down to 1.5 bar. So you literally finger here up on, it'll do 2 at the same time. Obviously if you do 1 at a time, it'll raise and lower it quicker, but that's how you raise or lower the pressure in the bag. And it does make an adjustment on either side. Sitting at 1.5 bar, I've measured the side now and it's sitting at about 3 centimeters higher than it was before, slightly higher. So I'm gonna have to sort of try this out now and see where we are. But there we go, you can see both controlled independently. So this one here, same thing, up she goes. So we're going up there and then drop the pressure down to exactly where you want, so you've got good control over each bag individually. And then we pop underneath, and there we can see the bag's inflated there now, with the 1.5 bar. I'm going to try it at that and
see what it's like, and obviously then we can gauge it as we go along. But obviously this is going to also help us leveling out now when we're on site. We're going to be able to raise or lower the back as well now, because it's gone up, I think, about 3 centimeters, I think. So we'll be able to lower it or raise it now as well. So may do away with the blocks a little bit, which would be good. So I'll take you around the side here now. I can show you. So there we are. You can see she's sitting slightly higher now with the bag inflated than it was before, but not too bad. Doesn't look ridiculous, I don't think. Obviously I can lower it back to where it was. We'll see how it goes. I'll try it as it is by there now and give it a run out. See what it feels like as well on the road. Okay, so that's the installation video, and obviously the fitment video. This finished now, and that's the airbag, the comfort airbag system. This has come from a company called Martech. I will stick a link down below so that you can see where this kit comes from. It's a complete kit as well, so you have everything you need: bags, the air lines, the compressor, everything, the wiring loom, the whole lot. Everything is there for a nice, simple install, and it's in my opinion, from what we fitted, it's a pretty good kit. It fits in nicely. These bags are rated to 5 ton each, or 5,000 kilograms each. I think it's each. It's a 5,000 kilogram kit, so you're good for 5 ton. We're nowhere near that, obviously. My main issue, my main point of fitting these was to assist the springs that are there and give me some sort of level of adjustment, rather than fitting something that's permanently solid. I wanted to have that flexibility in adjusting the ride should I want to stiffen things up or soften things out, whichever. Obviously the added bonus as well is we can raise and lower the back of the van to level things out as well when you're camped up. So hopefully we'll see how that goes, but I'm hoping that's going to work out as we plan anyway. So anyway, thanks for watching. If you could give us a thumbs up and a subscribe, that would be great. And any questions or any comments, drop them down below, and I'll do my best to get back to you and obviously answer anything, any technical questions if I can. Thanks again anyway. Cheers. Bye now. See you on the next one.